Well, uh, today, today we are here to know more about a very unique initiative by M2C, which is called Hire Woman Warrior, hashtag HWW. Well, this is a virtual job fair which is being organized by M2C on the occasion of Women's International Day, that's 8th of March. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is 𝐸𝐸𝐿, and I'm a career transition coach. I have about 20 plus years of work experience. I was in the Indian Army for 8 plus years, had the opportunity to part of Kargil operations. After my stint there, I joined Bank of America, was there for almost about 11 and a half years. And today I'm a career transition coach, coaching and mentoring military veterans for a smooth and a successful career transition is something which is close to my heart and I'm passionate about and I have the expertise. Well, folks, today we have Sunny Makrul with us, who has co-founded MilitarytoCorp. So, Sunny, thank you so much for joining us today as live on LinkedIn.
My pleasure.
Okay. So, Sunny, very, very keen to know about this particular initiative. But before that, before we talk about the HWW, why don't you just quickly tell us more about yourself?
Sure. No, thanks, 𝐸𝐸𝐿. I'm super glad to be here, and it's my privilege to be speaking to, the women veteran officers as well as the community from the industry that has come together to hear us and to understand a little more about veteran hiring and then women veteran hiring. As far as my introduction goes, I think the biggest claim to fame is that I founded MilitarytoCorporate almost a decade back with one of my friends who happened to be a short service commission officer. And since then, we've been on this journey to advocate veteran hiring and women veteran hiring, and then hiring of PWDs and military families and spouses and Veer Naris. So it's been an incredible journey. We've seen from from almost that no company knew what veteran hiring was to where it is today. That has been my journey. Aside to this, right now I've founded another firm which is known as 𝐸𝐸𝐵, but I'm sure there's another day and date for saying what I'm currently doing. But as I said, my claim to fame is that I get to speak to veteran officers day in, day out and help them.
Thanks, Sunny. So, taking the cue from that, before again, as I said, talking about HWW, why don't you tell us how this whole M2C or genesis of M2C happened? I'm sure something would have gone or some experience of yours, and it's been 10 years for the organization. So, how the journey has been for the past 10 years?
Oh yeah, I think it's always a question that evokes a little emotional response as well as a very nostalgia. 10 years back, right? As some of you could imagine, and those who are watching us and listening to us, veteran hiring or diversity hiring, these were like very alien and new topics. The vocabulary was not sort of in the popular culture, right? In the corporate culture, I think people were trying to figure out general diversity hiring in a sense that how to include the participation of women in the workforce, right? And on top of it, here are the people like us who came in and said, you know what, hey, wait up, there's something else to diversity than gender diversity, in a sense that there is military diversity. And on top of that military diversity, there are also lady officers from Army, Navy, Air Force and our paramilitary forces who are very capable, and can take some of the jobs. So I think while we did that, to your question, right, how did we start? I think it's a lived experience, right? All sort of such things when to do, you have to have personal motivation to do it. So 10 years back, I remember, my co-founder was a short service commission officer and had just come out of the army. And those days, 𝐸𝐸𝐿, you would know, and some of the people on the panel or on the call would know that short service commission back, 10 years back used to be a 5-year stint, right? So here was my friend who had just gone for 5 years. And parallelly in my life, I was finishing my engineering and I was in the corporate for about 2-3 years, right? So in a sense that, we were just figuring out our lives. And suddenly I see my friend coming out who was a short service commission officer, retired as sort of a captain, he came out and he was totally rudderless and clueless about what now he needs to do with his life. And I said, you know what, Varun, you were just out there for 5 years while I was having fun in my engineering college and a couple of years in the corporate. It shouldn't be very difficult. You were not like gone for years and decades, right? And why are you finding it very difficult? And that's where we realize that, you know, there is a gap. If this problem is faced by by a person who was just gone for 5 years in the military and is now transitioning, and all his life he was with civilians like me, right? Not that, you know, he was a legacy military guy who have always lived in the camps, right? He was a normal, you know, sort of civilian, comes from the civilian roots. And we said that, hey, if it is as difficult for you as you are saying, it must be very difficult for people who are spending 10 years and 14 years and 21 years in the army. And that's where we realized that there's a gap. And then, you know, I went as a management consultant, you know, back in those days, you know, I went back to the corporates and said that, hey, do you have military people in your workforce? They said, what does that mean? Where are they? They didn't know. They were not compiling that data. They were not really aware. And some of them said, you know what, we have a couple of them. They are in the security, they are in the admin, maybe one or two, then, but we don't know, right? I mean, we don't know much about them. We've heard they are very rigid, so we don't talk to them. You know, they're all sort of not very flexible, and all of those misconceptions they had. And we dug deeper. We said, hey, you know what, you're the same company who has a career page for specially curated for military veterans in your US office, in your headquarters. And here you seem to be totally clueless. So all in all, we realized that there's a gap from both supply side as well as demand side. And that's where, you know, we wanted to sort of act like a bridge and create a sustainable model around it where, you know, these two communities, which is corporates as well as veterans, can engage, can get into a dialogue and exchange opportunities.
Fantastic, because you know, I can resonate with that particular point which you said, you know, 12 years, 15 years back when I was transitioning. A very funny thing, people used to ask me, I used to go to the interview, and when I said military, and they used to just look at me and they asked very silly questions like, can you actually shoot? And I was like, oh, I'm a soldier. So I can absolutely resonate to what you're saying. So Sunny, it's been 10 years for the organization M2C. You have placed thousands of military veterans in the corporate. We know that top companies of the nation are your clients today, right? So another question which comes to my mind is, especially for the women veterans. So what is that? What kind of skill set do you think the women veteran bring from, if I have to say, war room to the boardroom? And what is that advantage for the businesses to hire this particular talent?
Yeah, no, I think Ripple, you can answer that far better than me because you have gone through that journey and you've been an officer, you know, in Indian Army. But let me just try to, you know, sort of paint the larger picture here and what we have seen and observed, you know, placing tens of thousands of veterans and thousands of, you know, hundreds of at least women veterans specifically in the last couple of years. First of all, I think what everyone needs to know upfront that the way Indian military or Indian Army, Navy or Air Force hires its officers is not a differentiated, you know, selection process. What I mean to say is that the way military men are hired is similar how, you know, those are the same parameters how women enter into the you know, Army, Navy and Air Force. And that selection process is less than 1%. All the people that who apply, women, you know, veterans or you know, when they apply, they are sort of, you know, young adults. When they apply, the selection rate is less than 1% by the time, you know, they get into the Army, Navy or Air Force and you know, come out as officers. So one, this is a highly specialist profile of women who are, you know, admitted into the military. So that's one. So it tells you a little bit about the niche of the skill or the personality types that these lady officers are in the first place, right? Now, second, as I said, there are largely three aspects to their training, right? One is, you know, because they are in the military and as you rightly said, right, they have to, you know, they are trained to kill, right? So by no means these women officers are sort of are not sort of killing machines, right? They can be when the need arises, because that's how the military is sort of structured. So one is that there's an impetus on a lot of physical training, much like their counterparts, right? So they go through rigorous physical training, then they go through a lot of leadership skills and leadership training, such as strategic planning, people management, cross-cultural training. Now, sample this, a lady officer in her early years, right? And when I say early, I mean 22, 23, 24. Rimple, you would have been there, right? You are commanding a sort of a platoon or about 40 odd people. And these 40 people are Javans, right? Who have come from from the countryside, right? This is the rank and file of the people. So how this young girl at that point in time is supposed to deal with these 40 people and motivate them and get the jobs done, right? So there's a lot of impetus on this cross-cultural training, on this strategic management, and this is all in VUCA world, right? A volatile situations, highly complex situations where they need to exhibit their skills, right? So that is one, right, on the softer as well as on the physical training. And then there are hard skills, right, which are the jobs that need to be done within the military, and they're trained for that. Now, what are those jobs? Those jobs can range from security and loss prevention, fraud management, administration, right? They are flying officers. So you would have seen, 26 January had just sort of gone by. So you would have seen, how they command men and how they fly the latest aircrafts, right? So they go through those trainings. Then supply chain, right? Telecom, cybersecurity, project management, program management, all of those. So those are the hard job skills which we have an equivalent in the corporate sector. These are the jobs that need to be done by the military, and therefore, these lady officers are trained on those jobs, right? But the biggest facet for me, right, that I take and I'm super impressed and in awe of is the fact that a lady officer, or back then, as I said, right, as a young adult girl, when she joins, right, in early 20s, she's leading, a 40 people platoon and leading them in very complex situations. By the time she's in her early 30s or late 20s, right, this lady officer is leading 100 people, right? This could be, in a place like, J&K or large, these cantonments and administration centers of army, where a lot of complex decision-making and high value add work is done, so that, military does what it does the best, right? Which is to sort of become this institution which is highly efficient and progressive. So those are some of the skills that they come with. Hard skills, like as I said in quick summary, right? Logistics. If you are listening to me and here you are an e-commerce company, I think the best bet is hire a woman officer. If you are an airlines and hospitality company, the best bet is to hire a woman officer, right? And so on and so forth. So IT, cybersecurity, security and loss prevention, and all of these jobs, plus the soft skills and the hard and the physical training, just makes them, really a cut above the rest in terms of the talent pool.
Great, Sunny. Great to hear that. So now, coming to this particular initiative, which we are hearing a lot of buzz about, which is the HWW, Hire Woman Warrior. So can you talk about this initiative and why this initiative?
Yeah, look, what we realized is while we were doing, the military hiring, it was still sort of stereotyped, around men, right? I mean, everybody thought that military is, about men, and therefore, they will hire these male officers, right? So we knew that, we need to create a sub-platform within military-to-corporate, which focuses on what we call as, D+D diversity, right? Which is double diversity or a 2D diversity. Now, 2D in a sense that, one, if you're a corporate, hiring a military officer in itself, right, irrespective of the gender, is a diversity hiring for you. And then on top of it, hiring a woman officer, right, who is, of course, from the military, is a double diversity for you. So we wanted to create a platform where corporates on the one hand and lady officers from the other hand are able to sort of come on one platform where they can discuss, exchange ideas, get to know each other, and then eventually, which leads to, career opportunities for some of these immaculate lady officers, right? So I think that's the larger idea of awareness. But with awareness, the idea is that, because this is sort of a one-day virtual event, which means that there's no logistical challenge. You can be sort of anywhere and still come to, our platform on 8th of March, which is also International Women's Day, and interact with these lady officers, and eventually, right, a significant portion of them, you will find them very relevant to your job skills, so that you can induct them in your corporate benches and corporate ranks.
Great, fantastic. So, Sunny, coming to there is, as you were talking about, and this question came to me, that is it a myth or a reality that the women officers are fit for admin and security kind of a role? And if it is a myth, then what's the reality?
Yeah, look, I think I alluded to this, and this is unfortunate that such myths continue to be sort of exist around us, and people sort of believe in them, even unconsciously or subconsciously, right? I think let's look at it this way, and I think I answered it. Military has all the jobs that need to be done, right? I always say this, this image of a military person being a security officer or an admin officer is all thanks to Bollywood, right? Because you make movies on war, right? And therefore everybody thinks that all these guys and gals do is to pick up a gun and shoot, right? Which they do very well, right? There's no doubt about that. But there are other jobs that need to be done in the military, right? As I mentioned, you have to maintain huge technical infrastructure, right? Which is your communication lines, which is your IT systems. And therefore, you need people to manage them, to induct new products, technology products. So these lady officers are the technical resource for that. That's one, right? Apart from, security and loss prevention, right? And cybersecurity is another added, concern that a lot of militaries around the world have. And therefore, Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force train a lot of these lady officers to take on those roles. Then there are huge programs and project managements, right? Some of these lady officers you will see with a PMP certification and a Prince2 certification for IT governance, managing these systems, managing these large programs, right? These large programs are worth thousands of crores and hundreds of crores with people across the country, right? So somebody needs to manage these programs so that they yield the intended results that their commander has set the vision on, right? That's two. Then military moves a lot of men, material, and money, right? So there's this huge logistics, which is first mile, mid mile, and last mile, that is led by these capable lady officers. So so that's logistics, telecom, e-commerce. I mean, when I say e-commerce, it's an equivalent in the civilian world, but those are some of the jobs that they take. IT governance, I mentioned, supply chain, right? So those are a lot of jobs. Apart from the fact that these are some of them are flying officers, right? So they can fly you from point A to point B. So those are some of the jobs. So it's really a myth. It's in the popular culture. And apart from this, right, human resources, most important, learning and development, human resources, so on and so forth.
Great. So, Sunny, since you have been doing this, placing the military veterans, and you see the trend in terms of the industry. So, where do you think, which kind of industries you have seen more traction or more open to hiring the veterans, especially the women veterans?
Yeah, I think I would divide this question in two, right? Which functions we have seen they getting into, right, irrespective of the industry, and which industries in general we have seen a lot of demand for the skills that our lady officers come with. As I mentioned, one that comes to my mind is, of course, e-commerce, right? Because of the huge training and experience that these officers have while they are in the army, in terms of moving men, material, and machinery, right, from point A to point B and point C. And by the way, their point A and point A, B, and C would mean very different things, right? It would mean moving something from desert of Rajasthan to Siachen and then it to some plain, right? Wherein you just need to drop something in Gurgaon at my place, which is much easier, right? So absolutely a cakewalk for these lady officers to sort of get into an e-commerce and lead those operations. That's one. Second is telecom management and telecom infra management, right? So if you are a telecom company or a high-tech company and you need somebody to manage these programs, whether that's on-site or off-site, in-field or in office, I think these ladies officers have done that a lot, and they're very good at that, right? So that's second. Third is, anything to do with tech, cybersecurity, IT governance, project management, program management, right? Some of those themes, whether you're from a consulting firm or you are a large investment banking with a back office or a mid office in India, I think these lady officers combined their two skills very well. One, their skills around the fact that that they can manage people, they can manage large teams. And second, they have the technical prowess and technical skill set and competencies to manage those roles, right? So that is third. Supply chain in general, right? And if you're a company who's looking for human resources, right, from hospitality sector, we have seen a lot of women officers getting into, because they're just so pleasing and accountable for their work. So hospitality and services industry in general, right? But generally, those are the themes that we have seen: supply chain, telecom, technology, telecom infra, and then hospitality, airlines, right? Right from managing the crew to flying a plane, right? So those are some of the industries that we've seen a lot of traction. Services firms, right? Consulting firms, management consulting, as well as investment bankers. So absolutely, that's where we've seen a lot of traction coming in from.
Thanks, Sunny. I think there are a lot of questions coming, so I'll have last question for you before we see the question. So this is the second edition of the drive. Last year also, the M2C conducted this particular drive on Women's Day. So can you share some learnings or feedback from your previous drive?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest feedback was that why don't we do this often, right? Why have we just done one last year, right? And I think we took that feedback. Last year was sort of, we were kind of, trying to pilot this and seeing that, how this goes and what people feel and think about it. But it yielded into some very tangible results on the day of the, on the day of the hiring event. Now, for example, we had about 20 companies that participated last year, and there were about 100 women officers who actively participated through the event, right? Of which I think about 40 to 50 got offers, of which 30 accepted and joined. So if you see, on a single day, this is one of the best conversions. If there are any people from human resources and talent acquisition here, they would sort of agree to it, that by the time morning you logged in, by the time you logged out, you had spoken to hundreds of these highly capable and lady officers, and eventually 30 of them accepted the roles that were offered to them within the same day, and of course join eventually. So that has been our experience of last year. This year we have a lot of participation coming in, a lot of sponsors coming in. It's just not a hiring event in a sense that it's just not that matchmaking that happens on this day. We have a lot of keynotes and fireside chats about veteran hiring and women veteran hiring and so on and so forth. So it's a packed day with a lot of intense discussions, and eventually at the end of the day, hopefully, a lot of these lady officers find the right roles, and a lot of corporates will find the right talent on a single day, plug and play.
Absolutely. I think we're all looking forward for that event. So we have questions. So we have about 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. So let's look at these questions which have come. So the first one is, let's read it out. Okay. The military isn't only about security and admin roles. Sunny and Rimple, please help clarify this myth. I think that I think you did that, right? You talked about it. Can we have some suggestion as to what kind of specific job roles can the women officers look out for in the corporate sectors? That's asked by Neetu Singh.
Yeah, no, I think Neetu, we try to answer that, right? I think it's important. I'll tell you what is more important, right? Corporates like military have every job, right? You have jobs right from the security, which somebody said is a myth, and we agree with that. But there are jobs around security, then there are jobs around project management, program management. So what is important is that you decide that what is the closest to your skill set and competency, right? Once you figure that out, I think what you need to do is make sure that your resume shines that experience through, right? And then you get into those conversations, about the industry. I think that is what is more important then sort of, we've anyways answered what are the industries or how you sort of highlight that. So that's how I would take it.
Okay, then we have the next question from Bala. Can you specify the tech specific roles which can be undertaken by women officer in the tech industry?
Yeah, no, multiple, right? I think right from the first is, program management and project management, right? Which is a role that every tech company has. And why should women veterans do it? Because you're naturally good at it, because you've led large programs in the corporate. And all you now need to do is, just sort of demilitarize that experience, right? I always tell this in my other sessions that I used to, when I started and not from the military background, I used to get these calls from, some of the high-ranking officers, and that say, you know what, Sunny, I have led a brigade and in the alpha unit of some beta command, and I'm sure, when they are doing that conversation with a corporate guy, and that guy is just scratching his head there, right? So what I'm trying to say is that demilitarize all of that, is more important. You've already done roles like, program management, project management, maintaining and deploying, and incubating large complex IT tech projects, right? So I think those are the technical roles: cybersecurity, IT governance, so on and so forth.
Thanks. So there's a question, since you had given an example of Bollywood, now there's a perception that military folks are rigid, again, thanks to Bollywood, as you said. So is it a reality? Do you think military folks are rigid?
Who's asked that question? I'm sure it's not a military person. I'm sure it's someone like me from corporate. They're not, and I'll give you data about it. And whoever has asked this question, right, think of their life, right? Every 2 years, their life completely changes in the sense of, where they are, with whom they are, they have postings every 2 years, right? So there would be a lady officer who would be serving in Delhi. I mean, hopefully, but nobody serves in Delhi though. But there will be a lady officer who would be serving in location 1. Then she would go to location 2 and location 3 and location 4, right? Now, when you are in that sort of, a movement and transition every 2 years, there's absolutely no way that you could be rigid, because you just need to go to new places, meet new people, make new friends, right? Because you have sometimes family with you, and you have kids to induct into the school, so you can't be just rigid, right? It doesn't serve any purpose. It's only because you've seen in that Bollywood movie, right, a sort of male officer with his mustache pointing to the sky, and we get that impression. Absolutely not. They're one of the most flexible people that I have come across, right? And look at it this other way, right? An officer, right, a lady officer or a male officer, right, over their career, the interaction that they have in terms of the age range is right from a 18, 19-year-old Jawan from the interiors of Telangana, UP, Punjab, some other places, to a hybrid, officer, 4th generation, general or lieutenant general or brigadier. And you have to switch between these conversations, right? And there's something that we call in the startup world or generally, right, context switching, right? How do you context switch? It's very easy for us as a civilians to switch context, because we are still talking to almost look alike in terms of the people, right? But here they are talking to very different people who have very different aspirations, can talk, very differently in terms of their language, their demeanor, their body language. And there's no way, right? Even if you on day one want to be rigid, by the time you're out, you are like, you're the most flexible, accommodating person that you could ever be.
Thanks. The next question is, what level would these women veterans be observed in the corporate? To what experience bracket would they be coming with?
So look, in terms of years, at least the military experience will be 10 plus years. Right, so that will be and some of them may or may not have a prior experience in some job or in some corporate, right? I mean, very rare. So they will come into middle management, right? So think of it, your corporate structure, where are people with 10, 12, 13 years of experience? You would box them in the same category, right? The only thing that you would need to do, with them is fact that have a program, have a sort of an induction program for them, which a lot of companies are doing, and it's very successful for them, right? We work with some of the large global investment banks, number one, number two, and number three in the world, right? In terms of their market cap, in terms of the human resources that they have, and we have helped them create these induction programs, right? Just so that the level setting happens, just so that where they sit, and then you can sort of induct them into the different businesses and different verticals. But it's absolutely mid management for lady officers, most of the lady officers.
Thanks for that. I think this question you answer, but I'll just read the question. Vidhu Singh had asked, can you share numbers of the last event with domains offered along with the roles offered? I think that you did.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next one. Okay, please share the skill set needed to map skills in the corporate environment for bringing up CVs. How do you kind of tailor-made CVs which are the corporate can understand? So what kind of skill set map?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that this would have come from an officer, right? So we run multiple. Who has asked this? Do we have the name?
Yes, Neha has asked this.
Neha, so we run a lot of these programs, and some of them are anyways planned as part of our run up to the event, right? I would encourage you to you to sort of participate in those programs where we will talk about how do you need to sort of tailor your CV, and how do you need to bring some of your experiences in line with the vocabulary that is prevalent in the corporate world. It's a large topic, unfortunately can't be answered in 1 or 2 sentences, but yeah, you got to do that, and we run multiple programs, and some of them are scheduled, so just keep an eye for that.
Yeah, Sunny. So there is going to be a program on how to build that resume for the people who are participating. Okay. So just see the space for more. Okay, the next question is the event focused around women from military background, or they are currently working with different corporates but have military background? Can they also look at attending this event? Yeah,
so the short answer is yes. Even last year we had women officers who were sort of freshers in corporate, like looking for their first job, but there were a lot of lady officers who were already working in the corporate and looking for some more conversations around their career.
Okay. And then she's asking, can you please put light on vacancies for remote kind of jobs? Are we, how are you seeing the industry on remote jobs?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is every job right now is remote, but it absolutely depends on how companies and human resources are looking at it, right? It's specific to the companies. If your question is that, are there going to be any specific remote roles in the event? I think we would only know once we are there, and if that is important to you, I think that's a conversation to have with the human resources manager of these companies. But yeah, no, we get a lot of hirings done for roles where HR is not in sort of hell bent on a particular location. They're pretty flexy that way.
Okay. So there's another question from Vandana. Do the tech women officers need to do specific certification for the roles you mentioned, or military experience is good enough?
Look, military experience is good, right? The only difference what certification does is that it sort of gives you a stamp of, it just gives you that tangible stamp, right? Something that is visible on top of your, your skills, right? And there may be certain gaps, so it just helps. Now, for example, we generally say that, hey, you know what, if you're looking, if you've done program management and project management, for example, in the military, which a lot of officers have done, it's just advisable to do a PMP kind of a course, or if you are from supply chain, to do something like ASICS and courses which are similar. It just helps to, sort of bind all of that experience. Is it mandatory? No. Is it advisable? Yes. And we anyways have a separate session on this, on the lines of resume that you could attend and get more understanding from.
Sure. I think another question was on the similar lines, that once you have transitioned and have an experience in the corporate for some time in, say, project management, what are the courses which can actually help you upskill to a data science kind of a field, which is upcoming?
Yeah, in a specific question,
I think we can. Yeah, we will come back to you with that. Okay, and Divya is asking what kind of small course skill set will uplift the CV. I think it's more about the courses. And Divya, for this, since I am a career coach and I coach military veterans, it's not just any course. I mean, that is not really just because you have to put some courses on the CV. I would not recommend doing a course, but it's going to be more of a very important factor is going to be to find out what you really want to do, how your skills can be transferred, which are the ones and which will need to be developed. And that's when you should look at doing these courses and the certifications. So it's not going to be, one particular course for everybody who is looking out a job in the corporate. That's what I would say. What do you say, Sunny?
Absolutely. Yeah, agree.
Okay. Can we have a shorter duration program or any other program where we can manage it with our ongoing service and family requirement? I think, yeah. So I guess I'm aiming to get what's normal notice time. Okay, this is fine. Okay, where we can manage it, they said one family. Okay, so they're talking about a particular course, shorter course. I think if you write to us at info@militarytocorp, we have a program called Career Transition Program, which is a very short duration program for 2 months, which you can do it being still in the service. You can attend those classes during Saturday, Sunday. So if you write to us, we'll send you the details about the program. I think this is Tanya. Your question is very specific in terms of that you are coming from a particular branch and your 8 years of education. So I think we can answer that particular questions by replying to her. So well, Sunny, I think we are coming to the end of the hour as well. Some last words about the whole initiative and something for the audience to take away.
Yeah, no, look, if you're a corporate on this, on this call right now, and you're participating and listening to me, hire a woman veteran, right? I mean, one, they are going to be bar raisers, right? Once you hire a woman veteran and induct them in your workforce, you will suddenly see the positive, rub-on effect on the rest of the people, in a sense that because these lady officers from a very young age, right? They are, right, because their job sort of demands them to be, they're very accountable. They can take on jobs which are highly complex, right, and put a framework on them and simplify it in a sense that, it can be delegated, broken down into the micro jobs, and those jobs have milestones and tangible, sort of tangible KRAs or OKRs, whatever you call them, and get that done, right, irrespective of whatever function you are hiring them for, right? On top of it, very hardworking, very talent savvy, tech savvy, and really add a vibrancy and a unique skill and competency to your workforce. So there should be absolutely no reason for you to not have a woman veteran, in your workforce in today's day and age. And Military2Corporate is very willing to help you, take your first steps and consult if this is the first time you're going to hire a woman veteran officer. And that's the right thing to do. I only don't say that, right? We have a page on our website where Barack Obama is saying that. So if you don't trust me, I think you can trust other guy with as short and cropped hair as me, right? The ex-president of US. So that's one. And if you're a woman officer listening to me, I think the only thing that you need to do is know that, how the corporate works, what's the language of the corporate sector, how do they hire, what are the trends, how the industry is positioned, where you should be, where you have a natural strength, right? Figure out all of that, and then you can always do your resume, and you can always do, your certifications. But absolutely, great times. Companies are hiring women veterans and or lead, the diversity talent in larger numbers than ever before. This is the best time to enter the workforce. There is demand, and there is respect for your skills and who you are. I think you just need to do that last mile job of understanding where you need to be. And I'm sure, you will have a great career on this side of the divide.
Thanks, Sunny. I think the point which you mentioned about a lot of competency which they bring to the table, as you said, double diversity. We have the woman, right? The competency, the characters which we bring as women leaders, plus we have the military leader. That's a combination we have. And I would go a little more ahead and talk about that we have been game changers, Because if you see the kind of policy changes which have happened in the country, be it opening National Defense Academy for the girls or giving permanent commission and opening in the combat, it has happened because the women in uniform, whoever has been, have outperformed, they have challenged status quo, and they have kind of taken that initiative and responsibility, and that's why these changes you see. So that quality also something which is, I think, need of the hour in any business. So thank you so much, Sunny, for joining us today. And all the folks out there, if you want to know more information about this particular program, just write to us, right? Or just say interested in the chat, and the team person is going to get back with more details. Well, watch this space more. We are going to come next week again with a very interesting panel discussion with women veterans to know about how their journey has been from the military to the corporate, so from war room to the boardroom. So hang on, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live here. Take care of your family and yourself, and bye for now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.